Yeah.
But yeah, how's it going for you? Pretty good. You getting to know guys? You brought some out to Hamlin last week, right? That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's you, nice. That's great. Awesome.
Oh no, it's alright. I'm just getting some B-roll.
Yeah, it's gonna start getting expensive. Yeah.
Okay, so standing room only. Good morning, everybody. My name is Hank Stewart. I'm the chair of the Civic Center Monroe County LDC Board. Other board members present today are Ray Dorado. In a minute, we'll be introducing our newest board member appointed by the county, Chief David Moore, who unfortunately can't attend today. Also on the board is Tony Feroci, who's the county executive's ex officio member. And then the two gentlemen at the end of the table, the first closest to me is Rich Bell, who's the contracting officer, management consultant for the board, and the last person at the end of the table with a sling in his arm is Mike Townsend, who's our legal counsel from Harris Beach and Wilcox. So that introduces to all of you the members and other folks at the board table today. So with that, I know there's a number of folks that are here to make public comment before this board becomes a public comment period. Rich Bell has a sign-up sheet over here. I think we've got 17 people signed up already, so we'll try and get started as quickly as we can here. I passed out to everybody, and available also on our website are the public comment period rules and procedures. And under item number 3 there, it says speakers will be given a reasonable amount of time to address the board. Given the fact that we have 17 speakers and it's 10 o'clock in the morning, we're going to start with a 3-minute process for speaking. So again, if you're going to speak, please come up to the podium. Rich will introduce you in order of sign up. So when you come up to the podium, please speak your name loudly and let us know if you're representing any group or body or you're just here talking on behalf of yourself. Also on the podium again is a copy of this document that describes all the rules and procedures for public comment period. So if you haven't read that yet, please familiarize yourself with that before you do speak. And again, I just want to remind everybody that this is an opportunity for the public to comment. It's not a question and answer. It's not a discussion process. You're not going to debate back and forth with me. It's for another time and another place. But you do have the microphone and the podium for 3 minutes. Okay, so thank you for your cooperation with that. Okay, so moving along then, noting that it's a little bit after 10 o'clock, we're going to call the meeting to order. And the publication of this meeting was Rich Bell.
It was published in the RVJ on November 8th.
November 8th. Okay, thank you. I just want to remind everybody this is a regularly scheduled meeting, that our next meeting is going to be March 13th, which is our annual meeting. And now if the media types are ready, cameras, microphones, we'll begin with the public comment period. And Rich, who's our first person?
We got to approve the previous.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We approve the previous.
Yep. A motion to approve the previous minutes. Thank you. I'll second it. Any further corrections, changes, or edits? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you for catching that. Next item, number 4, public comment period. So Rich, who's our first speaker?
I butchered these names, I apologize. Tom Malfiner.
Tom? Yes. Please come up to the microphone if you would, sir. So Tom, I'm going to ask you and each person if you've had a chance to read the public comment period and you're familiar with its content.
Yes.
Policy. Okay, great.
Well, thank you for your time this morning, members of the board. I'm from St. Joseph's House of Hospitality. We're a Catholic worker house. We've been here in Rochester since 1941. We're a soup kitchen and emergency shelter for men and not for women. I have been associated with St. Joseph's House as a Catholic worker for 16 years and have been working with the shelter program for that period of time. We have had noticed anyway that the population there for the homeless has increased over the years, and particularly this last year I've noticed myself being in the shelter that it has really increased. We normally have a shelter program from October during the cold weather until April, to the middle of April. This last year we made an exception to that and opened in August, just because we noticed the the numbers were increasing. And a lot of the, and we've been told pretty much every night. We call up and we call emergency shelter for the county, and they generally are full a lot. Lately, they've been full pretty much every night, all the shelters here in Rochester. What we've noticed particularly is last year when, last year in, I believe it was in February, they did a sweep down at the garage, and they found approximately 50 to 60 men and women down there when the police threatened arrest and all this type of thing. And it really became noticed. We took notice of that and called the city, and now it's not just St. Joseph's House, but this is the House of Mercy, Open Door Mission, the other shelters, and we said, hey, how are we going to deal with this, especially during the winter? Now, these people were let out, and we're having the same problem this year. So, right now there's approximately 30 men and women that are in your garage right now, and we've had some people even at our shelter saying they've been in your garage since 1997. If you can get an idea. So all the years this has been going on. So
Tom, 30 seconds.
okay. So anyway, we'd like to see right now to deal with these people and to continue. We are asking the garage to stay open for the homeless at this point in time until the time we can get a shelter that will deal with the people. We're talking to the city, we're talking to the county, and we're having difficulty finding a shelter. But we're asking for the cooperation of the county. And I think we can work something out with, down in the garage to see if it can, that we make this period of time, at least during the winter months, to shelter the homeless for a short period of time until we find a garage. Until we find a center. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Good morning. I'm Bob Ingram from Empower Welfare Rights, and what I decided to do was to bring in weather forecasts from the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, which might set a context for what we're talking about this morning. On January 1st, the anticipated high temperature was 20. The anticipated low temperature was 9. The following Thursday, high temperature 13, low temperature -2. The following day, it got all the way up to 6, and the low temperature was -2. Then on the following Saturday, high 13, low 19. On the Sunday, high 35, low 22. Going to January 6th on a Monday, the high temperature was 33, low temperature 0. The following day on a Tuesday, high temperature 8, low temperature 7. On the Wednesday, high temperature 20, low temperature 15. On the Thursday, high 28, low 26. On the Friday, high 40, low 33. And the other statistic I just pointed out to set context is there are about 69 more days of winter, so we're not even a third of the way through winter yet. Thanks.
Rob, thank you very much.
I'm here representing the homeless people. Although I'm blessed to be at the House of Mercy, I can only imagine the people that are not. And so I'm asking for you guys to appeal to the decency of human nature, because it's cold. And like I said, I'm blessed, but there's people that's not. And there's no plan in action. Where do they go? Throw them in the cold. I don't think that's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Harry Murray. I'm chair of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology at Nazareth College. I've been a member of the St. Joseph's House community since 1987. I cannot tell you how many funerals I've gone to for our homeless guests in that time. Not as many as Sister Grace, but probably at least 100. The one thing I can tell you is almost nobody died of old age. Okay. As I understand it, the Civic Center LDC is a creation of Monroe County. The New York State Constitution, Article 17, Section 1, makes the state responsible for the care of the needy. New York State has delegated that responsibility to the counties. I know from personal experience that homeless persons have been sleeping in the garage since I came to Rochester in 1987. The two major places where homeless people have been sleeping other than shelters were the garage and the subway system, under the Broad Street Bridge, which has been, in the last few years, closed off. I know that when Syracuse faced a similar situation with the closing of the Unity Kitchen Shelter in 1979, which again turned about 60 people out onto the streets, the powers that be acted within months. Onondaga County DSS, Catholic Charities, and volunteers opened the Oxford Inn, a shelter which took all men who came to the door. I worked the first night, we had 4 residents. Within a month, we had over 60. The Ox was replaced last fall by a new Catholic Charities homeless shelter on Clinton Street. The last I heard, they were sleeping over 130 men. It seems to me that the real difference was that in Onondaga County, the powers that be cared about poor people and about the homeless enough to take action. Richard Goldstein has argued quite rightly that he and his company, MAPCO, should not bear the responsibility of being Rochester's homeless shelter of last resort. I will grant that. However, you, as the board of directors of the LDC and Monroe County, do have that responsibility by law and by the fact that this garage has been the de facto shelter of last resort in Rochester for decades. I call upon you to keep the garage open to homeless persons and to provide porta potties until Monroe County creates a shelter which will take in everyone who comes to the door.
20 seconds.
Okay. During the Christmas season, Christians often reflect on Luke's account of the birth of Jesus, born in a stable because there was no room in the inn. I think we are fortunate that that stable was not owned by the Bethlehem Stable Local Development Council, or Jesus would have been born in the slammer. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Sister Grace Miller from the House of Mercy.
Right, before we start, I want to ask you the same question I'm going to ask everybody.
All right.
And is, have you had a chance to read the public comment period
Yes, I
policy?
have.
Okay, all set.
All right.
Rich, are you ready? Yep. Okay, go ahead, Sister Grace, take it away.
St. Many House of Mercy people are here today. They're homeless, and they have a heart and feeling for the homeless that are in the garage. And that's why many of them came today with us. We're speaking to you today about a very serious situation about our homeless that will be leaving the garage if you put them out. We're here today to beg you, to plead with you to work with us, to keep the homeless in the garage until a place is found. We are trying to find a building, a suitable building. We want to work with the county. Kelly Reed was here. We want to work with the city to make sure there's a building that will accommodate our homeless. And we're asking you to give us the time to do that and also to work with you. Homeless in the garage have said they would like to meet with you. So we're calling for a meeting so that we can all put our heads and hearts together to make sure that the homeless in our city in the garage are well taken care of. I've heard the closing date is January 15th. Ironically, that is the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. I hope you're not going through with the January 15th closing. I hope you're not going through with the closing until we find a building. That's all we're asking you for, is trying to come up with a building that will accommodate the homeless that are in the garage. They have feelings, they're hurting, and they're frightened. We've been there, we've been talking to them. There are many service groups who will work with us, many homeless service groups that will work with us. The people that are in the garage, most are people who do not fit into a system. The system is filled with so much bureaucracy and red tape that our people can't really fit into it or adjust to it. They need help. We're asking you to help us to help them and to keep them safe and to keep them secure. Harry talked to you about the Oxford Inn. I think it's a great way to start helping our people and to work out the situation. There is a homeless person who wrote a letter. And in this letter, he says some piercing words, which stay with me and should stay with you. He said, the letter was long, but this is what he said. It's sometimes cold outside, but not as cold as people. So we're asking you not to be among the cold people who would treat our homeless in a cold manner. That's a heartbreaking statement. We are supposed to be sister and brother to each other, sister and brother to our homeless, sister and brother to whomever is here with us. We are here to help take care of one another, especially the poor, especially the homeless, and that's what we are called to do. All of us are called to do that. So it's our responsibility, yours and mine and all of us here, to treat our homeless with justice and compassion. That's all we're asking for, justice, compassion for our homeless and a building, and we're asking you to help us to do that. Now, other cities have homeless missions. Why doesn't Rochester have one? Many of you are banking on the homeless shelters. The homeless shelters can do so much and accommodate so many. But there should be a mission for a city mission for the homeless in the city. And that is something we can work for or towards. We're all responsible. And there's one question I want to leave you with. What would Jesus do? Would Jesus put out the homeless into the cold, out of the garage, with no place to go? I think that's something for all of us to think about. There was no room for him in the inn.
Thank you, sister.
Is there no room for him here in Rochester?
Okay, thank you, sister. Okay.
My name is Ryan Aycock, here with the House of Mercy, worked with homeless population in Rochester for about 5-6 years, and I'm also here to ask you guys to keep the garage open for a period of time. It is a place of last resort. It does meet many people's needs on a temporary basis until we have a permanent solution, right? And I don't think we can underestimate the gravity of the situation. I believe this is really a life or death sort of situation. Given the extremity of the temperatures and what's going on in this city and the lack of accommodations for all of the homeless, people could die if people are put out en masse. We don't have the resources for it. It isn't hypothetical. People do die of exposure in Rochester. The average is maybe 1 to 2 people a year, and that could go up. Right? So this is not a simple. I guess I don't want this to come from as a simple business decision. Well, the garage has to meet a bottom line, has to serve its customers. If it's not serving its customers in this way or that way, then we just got to make this decision. But the consequences of this decision, if you guys were to go forward closing the garage, would be extraordinary. Given, as people said, this has been a shelter for a long time. And I don't think any of us want to see people sleeping in a garage long-term basis. Everybody wants something better in some way, right? And that's why we're coming together to try to find that solution. But we're not trying to put everything on the garage. It's not just the garage. Everybody has a part of this, right? The people in this community, the good-hearted people in the community, that come together to make donations, to volunteer, the social service organizations, the county, the city, all of us are going to have to do this. But right here, the garage's role is to give us time to find a permanent solution. And in these sort of situations, these very serious situations, even though I understand what this body is, this is a board serving, just the garage, and as I've heard it defined by previously, we're here to serve the customers of the board, or we're here to serve the customers of the garage. But we want this to be the decisions made in the context of the larger situation, what is going on, thank you so much, and in this life or death situation, I would ask you to choose life, because I think that's what's at stake here. Thank you so much.
My name is Heidi Pareño, and I am a nurse, a volunteer at the House of Mercy, and I'm also a member of the board of the Interfaith Alliance of Rochester. And one of the issues we are dealing this year is poverty, especially homelessness. So I strongly support that the garage be not closed for the homeless for health reasons, physical, mental, and spiritual. physical because of the safety. Exposure to the cold weather results in threatening health problems, which make them go to emergency room, and also sometimes death because of pneumonia, and then the whole thing about hypothermia, and also like some of they will with with the whole cold, which results in other health problems, and mental, because the symptoms of powerlessness enhance, it results in despair, and spiritual, because the suppression of the spirit to be alive make them hopeless. All of these are preventable. It will prevent from going to emergency room, therefore saving the money and account to the money from the hospital, and also the whole thing of violence, because if people are so hopeless and despairing, to be alive, they have to resort to something else. So I really support, I think that the garage being closed until it's safe and permanent main housing can be found. I know, coming from another country, being here and have lived, been here in the United States for 53 years, from Seattle, Washington, Berkeley, California, Detroit, Michigan, and have worked with the poor. I know the test of any civilized and very, very good society is how they take care of people like the poor and people who are not able to take care of themselves. So I'm hoping that Rochester can be this type of a city that really takes care of the people. I know when they did the whole study with the Community Foundation, social capital is one of the issues that has not been addressed. So I think there is such a whole social capital that needs to be enhanced in this city. And I have found that in the House of Mercy, with being they have hospitality, community, and charity being observed there. And this is because there is a place that people can come together. Thank you.
Heidi, thank you very, very much.
I have been working at the House of Mercy since 1987. Homelessness is a very big problem here in Rochester. And there are not enough spaces in the shelters. If we do call after hours, social services after hours, many times people are refused placement. Many of the people who are in the garage have significant health issues, mental health issues. They have difficulty fitting into any place that has a lot of structure or rules. We need an appropriate shelter that's going to provide for people who are desperately in need and can take them in just as they are, whether they're drug addicted or having whatever problems they're having. We need a shelter that will take the people in as they are and not have restrictions that will keep them out. Until we have an appropriate building to house them, the garage needs to remain open so that they can get in out of the elements, so that they're not forced out into the cold, out into the rain. They need shelter. And we need to, as a community, come together and decide how we're going to handle this problem in a good, appropriate way. So I do request that you keep the garage open until we find a better solution for the homeless. Thank you.
My name is Matt Smeltzer. I'm a pastor in this area, and I'm down in the garage just about every single night. And I just want to present a couple different variables that you may not have considered. But before I do want to start off in prayer. So please join me. Lord Jesus, we love you so much, and we do thank you for this opportunity, but we ask for your direction. We know that this is a very difficult situation, Father God, But Lord, we do know that you know the great and perfect way. So Father God, we don't want it to be our will, but your will, Father God. And we just ask for your love to prevail. In the holy name of Jesus, we ask these things. Amen. So I am down there every single night, and there are some things that go beyond just the normal numbers. The people that I know are very, very decent men. They sweep up after themselves. They keep bags of trash there so that they can clean up after themselves. So it isn't just a problem that exists of these problem people. They're trying their best to get past circumstances that they are in. Any one of us, regardless of where we come from, if we go through some of the things that these people have gone through, we could be in the same exact place. We're only a few circumstances away from it happening to us as well. Maybe we have stronger family units, maybe we have a great church background, or different things around us that offer us supports, but some people don't have these same supports. And what will happen if you close this garage, especially in this time period, you're going to amplify the problem. You already have a current situation, a current problem, but you're going to amplify the problem because you will have deaths on your hands. Yes. There are people that won't go to the shelter or can't go to the shelter, and they've already stated that they will be back out in the woods, they will be sleeping in a tent, and in this type of temperature, they will be killed. So you're going to have one situation that is so high, but now you're going to amplify it and have a major situation in your hands by putting people out in the cold. So we all recognize the difficulty of your situation, but this will create many, many problems if you do this during the winter season. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be brief. It's already been stated that it is the county's responsibility under law, this problem. Closing the garage at this time is initiating a death sentence for the homeless here. Because for a lot of us, we'll be put out in the weather. For different reasons, they won't go to shelters. For whatever reason, some are not allowed there. There is no place for them to go. We're asking that you keep the garage open until better weather, until a permanent solution is found to house these people. Last I knew, there was not a death sentence in the state of New York. Please don't initiate one now. Thank you.
Go ahead,
My name is Jared Lunkenheimer. I'm a fourth-year medical student at the University of Rochester, and I represent the University of Rochester Street Medicine Outreach Project. I'm here today to make a few basic points about the risk to life and limb of our patients who we see bi-weekly in the garage. So in the current temperatures, frostbite will set in to exposed skin in approximately 30 minutes. We treat people regularly for frostbite in the garage, and we have seen people who have had previous amputations of toes and other parts of their body because of exposure. We also see people suffering various effects of hypothermia and worsening of their other chronic medical problems as a result of exposure from the cold. So although I agree completely that the garage is not a long-term solution for people to stay, at the moment it is absolutely a death sentence for these individuals to be put out on the streets. And I find that completely abhorrent and unacceptable, and I'm just wanting to state that the medical students, nursing students, and physicians who work with us stand with the homeless, representatives from the House of Mercy and others, and are willing to actively engage the community in ways to find a permanent solution in town to house these folks. I thank you for your time.
Next Jared.
Good morning, members of the board, fellow Rochester community. My name is JD. I've been down in this. This is my 8th year I've been going down there. And on behalf of myself and other unemployed and homeless people that couldn't be here, it's imperative that you do leave the garage open at least till the weather breaks. I just started receiving DSS again, and until I can find a place to go, I just please ask that the place stay open. And beyond that, as far as time from St. Joe stated, I was in the garage last February when they kicked us out, us and the other homeless people. And I myself went down to the subway tunnels. And as the second speaker, Robert stated, I was in a tent those few days in January where the temperatures were below zero. Try sleeping under blankets with extra socks, hat, gloves, mittens, under blankets. All I can say is sweet dreams, people. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mark Williams, originally from Brooklyn, New York, now residing in Rochester, and now I'm residing at the House of Mercy, representing that. And the garage needs to stay open because it's not right that's going to close, because you have people who are anemic, they can't take cold very well, and it's not a time to close. And people, you need, shelter needs to stay open. People they need the help, and anemic, they need the shelter. It just needs to stay open, and by you closing the garage, giving people less hope to get on their feet, and people have different situations, and it's not right. And yeah, it's not right. I know I'm anemic myself, and if I was to be in that garage, I don't know what would have happened to me. You know. Yeah, I'm anemic. I know I can't take cold very well. Yeah. It needs to stay open, you know. Takes, you know, until the garage finds a new building, it needs to stay open longer. And it's a lot to say.
Just a couple brief comments. First of all, Hank and Ray did a little research, and you guys have been volunteering for the LDC for a long time. Thankless position, so just want to thank you guys for what you're doing. You've been doing it for a long time. I think just looking at this, I work for a church. I'm the pastor at Grace Road. We meet at the Auditorium Center building. I think we want the same thing here. There's a lot of health and safety concerns for the homeless that are in the garage. Carbon monoxide, I think that's probably an issue. I understand that you guys have received a few letters from judges/politicians requesting the homeless be taken out. And I feel like I don't think a human being should live in a garage, but I think the timing of this is really not very good. So just in looking at this further, I know that the LDCs have come under a lot of heat as of late for various reasons, and it's not just yours, it's the other two as well. And I hope that you can look at this diverse room full of a mixture of a lot of people, and keep in mind that this could paint the LDC in a positive light, that we're requesting to keep the garage open for the homeless until at least this spring when the weather's better. So, well, thanks.
John, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Who's our next speaker?
Last one, Ron Tour. This is Roar.
I'll pass.
Say again?
I'll pass.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're Ron. All right. So just, and that's the end on the list?
That's it.
Okay, is there anybody that did not put their name on the list, or maybe showed up late that would like to speak before the board this time? Okay. Well, for the 14 people that spoke before the board this morning, thank you very much for your comments. We'll move forward on the agenda. The next item on the agenda then is item number 5, which is to acknowledge that the county, through the county executive, has appointed Chief David Moore to this board and to replace Aaron Sperano, whose term expired back in September. We welcome Chief Moore. His schedule regrettably couldn't allow him to be here for this meeting, but we do welcome him to the board, and I'd like to have a motion from, actually, I'll make the motion. I'd like to make the motion that Chief Moore take over Aaron's position as Secretary of the Civic Center, Monroe County LDC. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you. Next item on the agenda is appointment of Chief Moore to various board committees. That's done by the president, which is me. And I'm basically going to appoint Chief Moore to the various board positions that Aaron had been on. So, oops, 1 second, sorry. Wrong piece of paper. Can you help me, Rich?
Really quick.
Found it. Oh, nope, I didn't find it. Board positions.
He's on the audit, finance, and he was head of veterans.
Got it. Okay. So I'm going to appoint Chief Moore as a member of the Audit Committee. He's chairing the Governance Committee, and he's a member of the Finance Committee. So there we go. Thank you for that. Okay, next item on the agenda is to recess for various committee meetings, and we'll start with the Audit Committee. Okay, so now moving back to our primary board agenda, item number 9 on the agenda, we're going to reconvene the full board meeting, and item number 10 is a report from management, so that's Rich Bell.
Thanks, Hank. Just a quick update on the renovation repairs at the garage. They're nearly complete at this point. There is some sidewalk work that's still being done. We're hoping to get that done by the end of January, but at this point, all of the major concrete repairs have been completed, and it's moving along. So, the second item on my agenda is the revenues. In the front pocket of your binders, I've included just a breakdown of where we're at in terms of the monthly revenues for both the garage and the lots. You can see some of the lots, the outdoor lots went down this past month. I think a lot of it has to do with the holidays and also, the snow piling up takes away certain spaces in the outdoor lots. But those revenues, the numbers are there for your review. All right. Finally, let's move on to the big ticket item, which is the selection of the security company. As the board is aware, we submitted an RFP request for physical security at the garage, and I'm going to go into some detail into the responses that we want. Before I go, I would be remiss to not address a few things. There's been a few reports in the media that are simply not accurate at this point. We're not closing or locking the garage. The only thing that's in front of the board at this point is for physical security, which will be doing patrols during peak hours of operation at the garage. Doors are not going to be locked. There is not a plan. We've heard a January 15th date thrown out there. Don't know where it came from. Frankly, don't care. It certainly wasn't authorized by the board or any of its management. But the only thing that we're presenting to this board today is proposals to provide physical security for the garage itself. The reasons are obvious. There has been a great uptick in the number of homeless specifically, but also other trespassers, skateboarders and whatnot at the garage for the past year. The problem in terms of the homeless has definitely increased dramatically over the past year. And one of the reasons is they've been deprived of other areas, mainly by the city, in terms of where they can congregate. I've heard that the Sister Cities Garage has been shut down, or they've been, pushed out of the Sister Cities Garage, and other locales that are controlled by the city. So we're basically the last resort at this point, which I understand, and we all have sympathy, and the board members can speak for themselves. We're all sympathetic, and we certainly don't want anyone to suffer, but we also have real concerns with both safety, health, and liability issues that need to be addressed. So that's what we're here to do today, to address some of the complaints and the notices that we've received from our customers. But also, as I think some of the people that talked here today, a garage is no place for anyone to live. It's filled with carbon monoxide. There are moving vehicles everywhere. People can get injured, people can get run over. So even for the homeless people, it is a terrible, option. And we understand it, and I think most people here understand it. I'm hoping that if there's a silver lining to this, it's that the attention that's been put on this will help spur the people that actually need to make decisions regarding the situation, particularly the city, that they'll take action, or the other charities and everything else, so that they can step up and do what needs to be done. We're not equipped to deal with the homeless people. We don't have the resources to deal with the problem of the homeless people. We're here to park cars and to make sure that our customers have a safe, clean place to park their vehicles. And that's definitely become a problem, especially within the last couple of months. The timing issue. The timing is not,
dictated because we feel, okay, it's cold, let's push them out. You know, obviously the population increases dramatically during the cold months because it is a heated garage. But the main issue with the timing is we've been put on notice very recently, formal legal notice of potential liability issues with what's going on in the garage. And as an attorney, I'm not the board's attorney, but as an attorney, that definitely concerns me that, you know, that we've been put on legal notice of potential liability. And as I've included in our packet, there is a letter from Chief Judge Craig Doran from the 7th Judicial District, where he addresses not only what he's received in terms of input from other people, but his own observations. And he specifically puts us on notice of potential liability, which he's very concerned that injury or death is imminent if things continue, particularly during the peak hours of the garage. But just some highlights from Judge Doran's letter. You know, one of his sentences, he says, "It is my sincere belief that it is only a matter of time before a potentially catastrophic event occurs." He also goes on to note that that they have observed homeless people sleeping in areas where they could potentially be injured by the vehicles, which, you know, is a real concern. You know, obviously, we don't want anyone to be injured, customers or the people that are, you know, using the garage as a de facto shelter. And Judge Doran also goes on to reference how the situation has degenerated over the past year specifically. You know, he mentions people who are asleep or semi-conscious, laying around in spots where there's heavily used traffic. He also references defecation, urination, vomit that is often found in the garage. I've talked to our people at MAPCO. They do daily cleaning every morning of defecation, urination, and vomit. That certainly doesn't create a healthy environment for our customers. You know, when you have defecation and urination in the garage in an enclosed space like that, it creates serious health issues as well in terms of, you know, just what you're exposed to. So we have health issues with both our customers and the homeless. We have safety issues with both our customers and the homeless. And we have liability issues. We've been put on notice now. If we take no action here and something happens in the garage, we're going to be legally liable. It's not just a bottom line issue of dollars and cents in terms of our revenue. It's legal liability. Someone has put us on legal notice and are demanding us to do something. The Judge Doran letter demands us to take some action. And that's what we're proposing to do today, to take some action to at least have some physical security in the garage during peak hours of performance. And that's what the proposals that we have, and that's the proposals that I presented to the board. I understand that Kelly Reed from Monroe County Department of Human Services is here. With the board's indulgence, I would like to introduce Ms. Reed. I think she may have some comments regarding options for the homeless people that are at the garage, and if the board is willing, I'd like her to maybe address the board.
Kelly, please come on up to the podium.
Okay, thanks. If you don't mind, can I speak kind of to the,
great, no
to the
problem.
group as
Great.
well? So
Yep,
I can
yep,
stay
yep,
there.
that's
Okay, everyone, good morning. I did want to talk to you a little bit about what has been going on in the garage and what your concerns are. I know that many of you have joined the Department of Human Services. We have been working for a long time with many of the advocate organizations in the community to address needs of the homeless in our community, and we do join many of the folks who spoke here tonight, St. Mary's, the Backpack Outreach, doctors from U of R. We go out and do a lot of outreach to try to engage the folks that are homeless and without a regular shelter that they're working with. The garage has been a primary focus over the last several months. The most recent time that the entire group was there was on January 7th, and they interacted with, they estimated, somewhere around 30 people. Of that, I asked for a summary from our Office of Mental Health representatives that go out to work with that group, to see what is happening with that group. Of that group, almost 100% of them are at some point in engagement with someone who can assist them. It's varying in terms of where they are for a long-term plan. Some of them have already been placed. Last night I went out myself. There were about 15 folks that I interacted with last night, including one of the gentlemen who spoke just before he left. I asked him if it was okay to talk about our interaction with each other. JD, who referenced for you that he spent several years in the garage. JD is now approved for services with us, is working with our outreach worker. I was with our outreach worker last night. 100% of the people we interacted with knew Nick, our outreach worker. So there is some connection happening. JD, we're attempting to get into placement in a housing facility. We have a couple of folks, I know they referenced, one man in particular referenced that the House of Mercy has assisted him in getting a bus ticket to go back home up in northern New York. So there are some plans for folks that are happening. And I think one of the things that's important, I was speaking directly to my colleagues as advocates in the community, is to recognize that a lot of the actions that are being taken now are important actions. To have security is not an unreasonable thing. We all know that folks that are in this situation are tremendously compromised. And last night, while I was there were 3 gentlemen fighting with each other, and I work a lot with this population, as do you. I was alarmed by their fighting. I myself was alarmed that they could be hurt or that I could be hurt in that process. So I think we're taking these are step-by-step actions, and they're reasonable actions. I also want you to know that we are often full. A lot of you referenced the fact that Monroe County's emergency shelter placements are often full, but we are looking to address that and willing to sit at the table with you. Also willing to sit at the table with folks here on the board to talk about how we're doing things. But I would certainly on behalf of the county ask that we recognize that this is not unreasonable steps that are being taken here. I think that they're reasonable not just for the garage and its tenants as people who are paying to park there, but it's reasonable for the folks you're advocating for as well. And I would ask you just to take that into consideration as well as we move forward with this. Is there anything else I can address for you specifically in terms of our placements or anything?
Any other questions? So Kelly, I just have a question. In terms of, you're obviously here, you work for the County of Monroe.
I do.
And then how about the City of Rochester? Can you talk about their involvement in this problem?
I don't have, the City of Rochester has sent some representatives to some of the suites with us, but we haven't been engaging a lot in the conversations with them. I'm hoping that we will as we move forward now to talk about the issues.
I would just like to say that I sort of echo what Rich's comment from a minute ago, that this has been a terrific forum here. Okay, I mean this meeting was not called to talk about the homeless issues in Rochester. That's not the purpose of the meeting, but that's what the meeting evolved into. And I think as Rita said earlier, and I want to quote her, I said, as a community we need to come together on this situation. I think that's what we did here today, so that's been very, very good. And I think her other statement was we need to find a better place for the homeless folks. I didn't hear anybody try to advocate that the garage was the right place to be.
That's right.
And so I'm encouraged that if nothing else came of all the publicity about this meeting today and the decision whether or not we have some added security in the building or not happens, at least we've created an environment where hopefully now the county and the city and all of you that are in the room that represent various agencies that want to make the situation better will collectively get together after this meeting and work on that process. It's not going to go away. As many people said during the course of the public comment period, it's been around for many, many years, right? We all know that. And if we postpone, if we just were to postpone things and hope things get better in the spring, well, let me, give you a news flash. It's going to be cold again next year too, right? Just as it was cold a year ago, and just as it was cold 2 years ago. And so this has been a persistent problem that I really think all of us in the community, to quote Reed again, need to come together as a community and solve once and for all. So that's just a little sidebar for me, if you will. Any other questions for Kelly? Sorry. Okay, thanks, Kelly.
Sure.
Rich, back to you then?
Yeah, and just to echo what you just said, Hank, like we said, we're hoping that the attention that has been put on this recently with the media will help spur involvement and to help try to solve this problem. I know that the city recently did a heat sweep, was reported in the newspaper, to try to, when the temperatures got bitterly cold last week. And, obviously things like that need to continue. Again, for our sake, it's just really a matter of, safety and liability, particularly during the peak hours of operations when there's cars going in and out of this place and, and people are frequenting the garage. So what we have is we received 3 proposals. One of them I dismissed out of hand because it was twice as much as the other 2. So I presented both. One of them is from AP Security, a local company that provides security for many of the garages locally and also has a contract with the city to provide security. The other is U.S. Security and Associates. As I indicated to the board recently, in sending this email yesterday with respect to the results, we did meet a selection committee of myself and 2 people from MAPCO met earlier this week to review the proposals and to come up with a recommendation. Obviously, I leaned on the experience of MAPCO. They've been doing, they've been operating garages, for years, and they are very familiar with the business. MAPCO has no conflict or relationships with any of the 2 vendors, either AP or U.S. Security. But it was MAPCO's opinion, and I share in it, that we feel that the best proposal came from AP Safety and Security, even though they were slightly higher in dollar amount. I think there were several factors that caused us to recommend them. One of them is they are a local company that employ local people. They're headquartered here in Rochester. The other company had just a branch office here in Rochester. It's headquartered in Buffalo. AP has extensive experience providing security for garages, parking garages. U.S. Security did not. Both of them had very good references. We checked references. They both received high marks. But I think the experience of AP and their local offices, and also the fact that they employ many off-duty and retired police here locally, I think is a bonus in terms of providing patrols. They also their proposal also included foot patrol at the garage as opposed to vehicle patrol, which means they'll obviously be able to check stairwells and things of that nature. Again, these are, just to be clear, these are unarmed security. They are there to patrol during peak hours that are referenced in the proposal itself. They're certainly going to be asked, as part of their duties, they would certainly be expected to ask people who do not belong in the garage during these hours to leave the garage. Although we have talked before, I know Rick Goldstein at MAPCO has discussed that we want to work with the various outreach community, and part of that would be providing our security with phone numbers and cards or whatever we can, whatever they want to give us, so that we can pass them out when we do ask people to vacate during those peak hours. So again, AP Safety and Security is our recommendation. The amount of the total bid is $55,520. I've been told, and I've had some discussions with MAPCO, that they are willing to contribute to those costs, and this obviously affects them as well. We haven't agreed on a number yet. It's technically our responsibility, but MAPCO has agreed to share in some of those costs in an amount that we're going to negotiate. So again, that would be a 1-year contract. We would probably have an option to renew once we negotiate it. When will it go into effect? Well, when we are able to negotiate a written agreement with whoever you guys select. So there's no start date set in stone. It could be next week, it could be 3 weeks, it could be whenever we get a written contract with these guys. Hopefully it'll be, once we get authorization, it'll be as soon as possible. But you have the proposals in front of you, and you have our recommendation for AP safety. So our our request is that the board approve authorization to contract with AP Security, Safety and Security.
So I'll make the motion that we enter into a contract with AP Safety and Security for a 1-year term for a contract amount not to exceed $55,525. Is that correct?
With the understanding that, you know, it's possible on a unit price if we needed more security for special events to hire them on other occasions at that unit price. But the base amount is definitely $55,000. We don't expect to exceed it, but the option is there to have more security. But I don't expect that we're going to exercise that option.
Okay, so the motion is the same as amended with the opportunity for one-time special security events.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. There's the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Mike, the issue of best value, I mean, or related to you, Richard, too. Is it your opinion that based upon these two proposals, which are somewhat lengthy and involved, as I'm looking through here today, that we're receiving the best value with AP despite the fact that the price is higher?
Well, legally, price is not the sole factor determining the appropriateness of the bid.
But it's the best value.
It's one of many factors determined based on statute, as elucidated, several other strong factors that I think would be perfectly reasonable in the description. Whether it's
I will support the motion based upon the fact that, from what I've heard today, I believe that this company does represent the best value for the dollar that we're getting.
Rich, the other thing I want to just point out, I believe you mentioned in your brief that AP Safety and Security System also has contracts with the city for the city garages?
Yes.
Okay, so they're a well-known commodity in the community.
Yes.
And then lastly, before are there any other comments? Okay. So lastly, before I call the motion, I just want to be clear that it's the board's intent or suggestion, if you will, to management, to you, Rich, and to AP, and to MAPCO, to come up with a policy that would be appropriate for the discussion that was happening earlier with regard to this homeless issue in the garage.
Okay, understood.
All right, so any other comments or questions?
I have one more comment.
Sure.
If I'm going to approve this contract, and if that helps perpetuate and push the solution to the problem that we've heard today, I'm all for it. Okay, I'll summarize what's been said. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving along to our agenda, and before I move along to the agenda and finish up the rest of the meeting, I just want to thank all 14 of the speakers that spoke earlier. We really appreciate you coming down here today and helping to enlighten this problem, and hopefully we can work together in the future to, again, make sure that the appropriate and correct things happen. No one wants to see a death either in the garage or out of the garage. We're all so, Grace, given your group here, thank you very much for coming down. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. That wasn't a go. Report from council. Mike Townsend.
Nothing to